For 20 years, this veteran served all over the United States during his time in the Coast Guard.
KCAU 9 News reporter Jason Toktagian tells us stories from William Flory's time in the service in this week's edition of Veterans Voices.
And I got word that I've been reclassified for the draft, so I had to make up my mind whether I was going to wait and take my chances with the draft.
With the Vietnam War ongoing, William Flory chose to enlist in the U.S. Coast Guard in 1962.
I don't think there was even 30,000 people total. You could take the entire Coast Guard and put it on a Navy troop ship and had leftover people.
Flory took on a number of positions in his early days of service. He would eventually land in the northernmost U.S. state.
What I was doing is I was working at the supply depot where we ordered and received supplies for all the units in the state of Alaska. Then over at the air station over at Annette, they had the airplanes and helicopters.
Flory found a way to extend his stay in Alaska another 2 years, but it wasn't until 1971 when Flory made a career change.
I went to school in North Carolina, and then I put in for a helicopter unit because I had been around the helicopters up in Annette. I put in for all helicopter units out of school, and they sent me to San Diego.
For the next 4.5 years, Flory would station in San Diego, learning the ins and outs of helicopters ahead of his next chapter in the Polar Operations Division.
Which meant that we flew the small helicopters and put them on icebreakers, and then we went up in either the Arctic Northwest or the Arctic Northeast or the Antarctic.
During his 2 tours in the Arctic Northwest, he says it was like being in a National Geographic documentary.
We got out there and were flying along, and all of a sudden, looks like the horizon's moving. There was a herd of caribou about 3/4 of a mile long, and they were just going across the tundra lickety-split. And then all of a sudden we looked up and there was open water up ahead. When they hit the water, we found out it was like a mini eclipse of the sun, the mosquitoes that came off of them. I mean, it literally blacked the sky for about 10-15 minutes.
In October of 1982, Flory would call it a career and end his time with the U.S. Coast Guard. Jason Toktagian, KCAU 9 News.
Flory also says he saw narwhals for the first time in his life while up in the Arctic. That's pretty cool. It's an animal he says he thought wasn't real. Quite frankly, I kind of thought they were mythical too until recently.
Yes.
Never seen
Neat.
one.
We're awful proud to tell the stories of our veterans, and we share those stories of our Siouxland veterans every Tuesday night at 10 o'clock.
That's right. Nominations are always open for the segment, so if you know a veteran with a story to tell, we'd love for you to email us at veteransvoices@kcautv.com.